Do you like being scared? Does horror attract you with its atmosphere and creepiness? If you said yes, you clicked on the right video, because I prepared a selection of horror games that are on top of the list. The list of worst rated horror games on Steam. That's right, today we are going to look at random picks from a list of horror games on Steam with negative reviews, some of them even played by Markiplier or PewDiePie himself. So fasten your seatbelts and prepare for a ride. Do you like Silent Hill? I do. So why not play a game set in town that was an inspiration for the creators of Silent Hill movie? It's a very similar town to Silent Hill, so being inspired by Silent Hill with your own game set in Centralia is not a bad idea. But the creator copied his homework in the most obvious way possible. The story of Henry Nelson, who lost his daughter in mystical circumstances. Henry goes to the dead city of Centralia to search for his daughter, Shirley. I like this original story, but we shouldn't judge the game on its premise, so let's turn the game on. I like the selection of multiple languages in here, even though the only ones with audio localization are English and Russian. But if you want to immerse yourself in the story and experience the peak of gaming, you gotta choose the English version.
I lived a normal life. Work, loving wife, beloved daughter. I couldn't imagine what it would be like to be in May 1992. I will tell you my horrible story. My wife went missing 7 years ago.
I don't know where to even begin. The text itself, the way it's scrambled together, how somewhere it has missing space, how the AI voice ignores whole sentences, those random clips in the background, and the whole incoherence of it all, how it sounds and how it looks. I think seeing and hearing it is more than 1,000 words. It's interesting that in the trailer on Steam, it has a different voice that reads the text.
I lived a normal life, work, loving wife.
And then the creator decided that it's better if it was read by someone from Millennia Thinker universe. That's what I call a Slavic mutuality. Quite a bad time for Slavic mutuality. After the introductory text, we are in a car that happens to start near the end of the road, like how it was moving until now. We have to go on foot on our way to Centralia because of a fallen tree.
Damn tree, then have to go on foot.
But I decided to go completely random direction and discovered that the Flat Earth Society was completely right for the whole time, and why the edge of the Earth is guarded by soldiers. If we decided to play the game normally, we would get the jump scare, or rather false scare, of a big tree. Then we will find a building with a flashlight and a torch. But it can't be selected with 2, 3, 4 because it's a cheap Russian indie game, so it only works with a Russian keyboard. Through the forest to the city, we are endangered by the wolves that attack you if you don't hold a torch. After that they're just tweaking. On the way to the city, we see an animated levitating character and a letter on the ground that guides us to the hospital. We are yet again witness to a very realistic movement from right to left with VHS effects, even though we don't record this with a camera. By exploring the hospital, we find a special elevator that allows us to kick. Nowhere else can we kick, only in this elevator, even though it has no purpose. What did the creator want with this? After this moment, the game begins to be really annoying and frustrating. The game has unexplained and inconsistent rules with how you can progress. Do you know that even though you can't pick or control things with physics, you have to physically grab and control this one dead guy in order to get a key? By the way, good luck with that, because this man has both of his arms in the walls. If you can do it, then you can progress, and you have to solve puzzles that, to me, completely deteriorate the horror atmosphere for me. Instead of feeling unwell and creeped out, I am frustrated from the hard puzzle, but I did it. And I have to get it in the video because it was hard for me. As a reward, I got a dancing patient. If you solve the next puzzle, that I must admit is pretty creative, that you only see numbers in the dark, you get to another lore letters, with text coming out of them. Continually, we can get to Samara. Why Shirley looks like the most stereotypical lost girl in a horror. And we transition into Silent Hill 3 with this random gentleman who I honestly have no idea why he's here. And he doesn't chase you if you have a torch. You have to find the key, get out and hooray! We got to the end of this game! Expect continuation in the form of 3-4 episodes Duration 3-4 episodes will depend directly from the collected funds from 1-2 episodes and the number of positive reviews. Oof. To help the development of this game, to further improve its quality, you can write a good review. Very well, comrade. What else can I say to this game? It's another cheap Russian horror game, like a bunch of others out there. It could be counted as a game from an amateur that is learning game dev, and I can't say anything bad about that. My Game Jam games were not really the best either. But Mr. Creator does not seem to learn so much. His games look cheap by design, not by lack of skill, and from what I played, the game deserved its negative reviews. Why be sad? Be happy! Let's play a game that is exactly that. Happy is a psychological horror adventure where you play as a detective investigating the disappearance of a family in an abandoned winter forest. We could not wish for a more generic description, but I have to acknowledge the somewhat originality in the winter setting. To be fair to the game, I selected the highest graphical setting possible to fully immerse ourselves in the game. I have to admit, the forest looks nice, even with its shimmering shadows. And even the cottage, everything looks to be assets from Marketplace, which I have no problem with if it's not the only thing carrying this game. But it is the only thing carrying this game. So let's summarize the course of this game. We get from the forest to the cottage with a letter, "Honey, David and I went to fetch firewood. The TV appears to be broken. He started making some strange noises. Please try to fix this. Your lunch is in the kitchen. Don't wait for us. We'll be back soon." There is no lunch in the kitchen! And the electricity is turned off. So we are going to turn it on, and I'm going to turn my graphical settings down in order to save real electricity. But the electricity can be turned on. So we are going to a cave, for some reason. And on our way back we see a stranger that looks like typical slasher horror antagonist. And we have to barricade our home so we can safely sleep. You have a car! You can't go away! So we barricade all windows and we have to light the fireplace. However, in this place my game broke and I couldn't do anything to progress the story. After reloading my save, it took me to the beginning of the game in terms of objectives, but I was where I ended. I realized that this game is a complete mess and uninstalled it. I couldn't find the playthrough on YouTube and was instead recommended with better games. But in the negative reviews, I found some videos where the guy got further than I did. So, from what I saw, after lighting the fireplace, you should go to sleep, and you will be later woken up by a ringing telephone. After the phone call, you would see this handsome lad at the entrance, and after opening the door, you've entered this strange place. Quite liminal, in fact. Many weird things to be found here pulls you further and further down this game, until you cannot progress any possible way. From what I gathered, nobody was able to finish this bloody game.
You know what? If the devs are watching this, fuck you, man. You suck. Hard.
This game makes me not happy. You know, in order to be happy, you should have friends. So the next game will be a co-op multiplayer horror game. For the right experience, I bought this game not only for me, but also for my dear friend. I hope this game will be worth it. Well, I chose the wrong category of games for that. But what is Hideaway about? It's a brand new multiplayer survival horror experience, featuring the thrill of an ordinary night out in the cabin with your friends that quickly turns into a horror folktale. So I with my friend decided to get immersed in the atmosphere of this experience. Me being fair to this game, I pumped up the graphics settings to the maximum, and in the settings I found that there were multiple languages. No Slovak, but there is Czech, not with a compatible font, but it is there. It's nice that the creator thought of multiple languages, it's just a pity he didn't finish it.
Ale já to mám po česky, proč to mám po anglicky? Já nevím po anglicky.
Počkej, ta čeština nefunguje.
Nefunguje.
The way this game works is that you must find a sleep-inducing liquid that you burn into a furnace, which in a Hideo Kojima cutscene transforms into sleep-inducing gas that turns to sleep the beast in the forest. Now, what is this beast in the forest? I have no idea or explanation, let's just call him Zoran. And what do we have to do? While he is dozing, we have to steal one of his skulls and put this skull on an altar. You can't let yourself get caught, otherwise you lose the skull you had. And Zoran will drag you deep into the forest where you will freeze for a while. It looks way more funny from the outside. You have to steal these skulls and put them on the altars multiple times. After finally, you will defeat Zoran. And in this cinematic, he will meet his end. Bravo Vince. And that's literally all this game has to offer. For 4 euros on one person, it can be very disappointing. So many people wrote in the reviews that it's not a fun for a long time. But for me and my friend, it was fun for nearly an hour. Maybe the developer made it more difficult with an update, or me and my friend are simply clumsy. The game did not seem to me that bad. Actually, I had quite a fun time with it. It wasn't really good, but neither that bad. The game seems like a project of a game developer in the beginning of his journey. It feels like a game jam result. And it is very possible that the game is a mishmash of assets put in the game, united by code. Well, from this review it seems that this is something else. I don't know. I can't tell from the creator's other games, because there aren't any. But the game in sale for €1 doesn't seem that bad. I would call it mid. Let me tell you about this game. A game that Markiplier and PewDiePie himself has played. The legendary story of a century. Century, hardly. A millennium. For years, Raventown remained in peace. People planted and gathered their seeds in harmony. Nearby lived a hunter called Walden. He was known as the black sheep of the region, a lonely and a sad being. Of course, nothing can be expected from a person who lost part of his life in a shooting. A few years ago, Walden was attacked by the 3 most dangerous assassins of that time, and... what is this animation? Everyone is moving in an A pose. That moment when I have no ring and I must animate. Moving on. The hunter was searching for a rare bird that appeared after midnight. Wearing masks, the bandits fired their guns against the hunter. After being hit by the first shot, Walden, with the courage of a hunter, managed to draw his gun and fire 3 accurate shots at those devils. Rumors say that Walden was found in such a big pool of blood that it was impossible to believe that he could be alive. Somehow, he still was. From that day on, Walden locked himself inside his house and was never seen again. A few years of bed rotting has passed and Walden received a reply that he should touch some grass. So Walden decided to leave his house while the sun was still shining. Oddly, the blue sky started to become dark and gritty. Walden calmly lights his loyal lantern and returns home. So we start outside. This is supposed to be his home, I guess, but he only came for a rifle and decided to go I don't know where. From what I gathered, Ravin was torched and people in it killed by some monster. But this game didn't tell me anything. I had to find it on Google. We can start talking about the gameplay and the horror of this game. It seems to be a weird mutant of Amnesia that really feels like it is from 2014. This game has the loudest jump scare for a dead horse I have ever witnessed. And jump scares like this are frequent and most of the time totally needless. This tactic I will describe as I have no talent and I must scare. The gameplay part consists of, same as Amnesia, finding keys and key items that get you further, and repeat. But unlike Amnesia, Walden can shoot, and he needs to shoot in fights with various enemies. Seems like I have the gameplay part covered, let's continue with the story. Walden hadn't felt fear in years. However, this was about to change. I mean, of course, he was bedrotting for years, so he didn't really have to fear anything. But fine, after the epic lines, we get to the animal house of dead horses with artistic interpretation of a defibrillator, and we are to witness our first boss fight. Big Snake. His purpose is to test Walden's hunting skills. And also tell us about a recent remake of a game I dumped so many hours into and completed multiple times on the hardest difficulty, even as a pacifist. The big snake, however, didn't defeat Walden. And Walden walked out of the battle as a victor. But Walden was poisoned. Miraculously, he healed himself with a rare medical herb, so why was it here if it got resolved in the next line? But finally, we got a look on the antagonist of this profound story. Sigma Wolf, the one who doesn't abide by the societal norms or the rules of a good horror. When we meet Sigma Wolf for the first time, he's trying to get us into his crypto scams and testosterone camps, all while trying to charm us with his dance.
Gangnam Style.
But like any sane person, we fend him off with a rifle. After more than 10 shots, Sigma Wolf withdraws into the background, and our hero falls asleep in an A pose. After waking up, Walden appears on Noah's Ark that is guarded by the T-posing naked black man from Amnesia. We'll act like Jack Sparrow, so much that we can hear a woman shriek. Walden continues his journey through spiders. Bigger spiders, jump scare spiders, and squeaky spiders that don't abide by the rules of physics. All of these spiders led Walden into a realization that this one random woman we don't know anything about, besides how she sounds when she screams, must be saved, or else he wouldn't forgive himself for the rest of his days. Yeah, sure buddy. Totally another random shoehorned plot point that came out of nowhere. And as with Walden's poisoning, it's quickly resolved when we, not long after this, find this random woman dead, and we simply move on. By the way, there was a boss fight with a big spider. That's all. On his way out of the dungeon, Walden found a message written in blood.
The answer lies within the catacombs.
Walden now had to search for the catacombs. He arrived at Wild Hill Cemetery about 3 hours after the fight. Tired and sad, he started to fear his imminent death. He didn't care if he could die in that catacomb. He can't just let Sigma Wolf keep going with his scams and toxic advice. After his grinds had ruined an entire decent town, including the jumpscare horses. Inside Pale Mountain's boneyard, we have to find parts of a broken key to the catacomb, while being attacked by spiders and newly introduced Michael Jackson's backup dancers. They are not that difficult to dodge, so we continue our way to settle the score. Walden was running into the unknown. Out of his mind, the hunter started to hear voices.
Come see the power of my darkness, the number of my followers, my bank account and value of my crypto wallet.
What are you? Why are you doing this? What do you gain from chasing power and fame by preying on insecurities of young men when a decent village pays the price, including the shock horror stallions?
Let me introduce myself. My name is Zaphiroth. I have hundreds of thousands of followers, creator of 3 unsuccessful courses, and the father of a 4th one. What you saw in Raven was just a showcase of my dark triad personality, and you, like a beta, came to whine about it. But I don't have time to waste on such an insignificant creature like you, Walden. Get out of my sight and I'll spare your life.
We'll meet again, creature. And then I assure you, you shall not go unscathed. Walden walked away from the Moon Maw. Just for us to spawn back here again. Why would you even walk away then? So yet again, we find ourselves in the sex dungeon, this time to face to face, the Sigma Lycanthrope. He sends Jackson's backup dancers, spiders, and magic spheres that we have to shoot. At this point, the whole story reveals to us. We see how the Howl Spawn sends his lackeys at us. He isn't strong enough to face us himself, because we know how that ended up. Zaphiroth is nothing but a poser, a fake Sigma that only uses Sigma male personality for exploiting people and making money out of them as much as possible. While Walden, the true Sigma male, who stayed in the background like a black sheep, he didn't need to draw attention to himself. He alone, armed with his rifle, braved such a perilous journey, during which he sought to show mercy by saving a human life. Walden's strong spirit endures and seemed ready to defeat the Bletherskite. At least, That's how it looked. Until he was defeated by enormous boss. It seems Sigma Wolf is winning and walks away unscathed. But then, something far stronger effortlessly takes Sigma Wolf down. Yogurt Male. Sigma Wolf and Walden both meet their end in the sex dungeon. Meanwhile, Yogurt Male gets his hands on the hidden Epstein files. But that's no longer Walden's concern. He proved his spirit. He acted like a true Sigma and took down a big poser who promotes nothing but fake values and pretended strength. And that's the end of this game. It was a wild ride, full of meh gameplay, lame horror, very weird and cheap animations, and occasional difficulty spikes. I didn't mention it, but enemies are so strong that they one-hit KO you. And I was dying on that final boss fight for so long. Even though I completely get the negative reviews, this game has a charm, but only if you do not look at it as the creator probably intended. The game, I think, got a fair rating on Steam if you don't expect a game that is actually scary. And that's all 4 of them. Yes, they weren't really the worst rated, but more of a random selection from those which got a lot of negative reviews. To be honest, I'm completely satisfied with my selection. The selected quartet is to me diverse and unique. If you got any games that you think I should try, write them in the comments, and maybe they will be in the next 4 worst horror games. It's going to be all from me today. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this, maybe some share. I'll let that up to you. Bye.